ConverStayShuns. My name is Devin Boyd, aka Lyrical Instrumentalist, and I have my guest,
Layne.
How's it been going, Layne?
Super good. I'm nervous.
Oh, you don't have to be nervous. This is your first podcast?
It's my first podcast, yeah.
Cool. Have you ever recorded before?
Yeah, I've recorded like in studios for like music and stuff, but I've never recorded like talking.
Okay. What were you doing in the studio?
I was recording just like covers, and then I was in a sound engineering program at ACC.
Oh, cool.
And then so I did like a bunch of recording there and learned the whole audio business.
Were you singing or playing an instrument or both?
Both.
Cool. What instrument do you play?
I'm self-taught on guitar and piano. So those are the main two ones, but mainly it's guitar.
That's dope. You plan on doing anything with it, or just recording for now?
I mean, I've started jamming with my neighbor, and we're going to help each other out on some projects. Like, ultimate goal is to release an EP, but, you know, it's time, really.
It is a whole process. Like, that's what I went to school for, was like audio engineering and like producing.
See, and I really wanted to do that, but then I like kind of moved into the creative side more. Like, it just came more naturally to me. But like publishing was really cool.
Yeah.
Like entertainment law was super interesting. So I've always thought about maybe like trying something out like that, but I don't know.
It's definitely it's fun, but it gets tedious like when it comes to like mixing and all that kind of stuff. But it's definitely fun. But like if you went to school just to even get the knowledge, I always think that that's a good idea for like any musician or artist. Yeah. But that way you can speak the language of the engineer. So let's go ahead and get right into this podcast.
Okay.
I will say, because like I said, I just like to be honest, you're the second white person I've actually had on this podcast, which is really cool. Because a lot of people like listen to the episodes I have, and I sometimes talk about different like black things, or I have like black people on there, and they start to think like it's just like a podcast for black people, and it's not. So it's like no, I talk to anybody. It's about any conversation I have. But the reason I said that, just to break that like nervousness, because since you laughed, so I feel like maybe I did break some of the nervousness.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, I feel honored, honestly, to be the second white person on the show.
Yes, exactly. That's what we're trying to break down, all the barriers in the world. No, but for real, like, so yeah, I definitely want to speak to you, because you are, like I said, a person of the topic that I want to bring up today. Like I was telling you, post recording, I have like a lot of friends in what people say the LGBT community, and I had like a conversation with somebody recently, and it was just like kind of striking a nerve. So I was like, let me see about speaking to different people and see like just their take on it and just their perspective. Partially because I feel like there's a lot of judgment from people who don't understand just things in general, but especially in that world, I'll say. And there's a lot of judgment all the time, and people don't take the time to really understand people. So then they just walk around ignorant all the time,
right?
Saying like the dumbest shit, and it's just like, really, like you wake up and you think like that like all the time. I think
the craziest part of that is usually actually that they feel like by saying it, they think other people around them feel the same thing. Right. Like nobody's like running around like, I'm going to say something everybody else hates. They think that other people aren't going to be upset with them because they think the same way, which is crazy. Right.
And the thing is, I think the majority of people in the world don't like think that way. Some people will be with circle of friends and like they feel one kind of way, but like when they're with their friends, they try not to be outcasted so they don't voice their opinions on how they really feel. But it's like there's more people just don't care, like, you know, who someone's dating and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But with that said, how, like, through your life, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
24.
24. Have you always been a lesbian all your life?
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't count like my pre-conscious life, like when I was in middle school, because, you know, those aren't humans. Those are just psychopaths.
Yeah.
So I figured it out pretty early on. I think it was about like 13 or 14, actually. So it was my end of middle school. So I guess, yeah, alien Layne also was gay.
You say alien
Layne? Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, no. So I think like around 7th grade is when I kind of figured it out, and like I tried to like date, quotes, right?
Right.
Date other like dudes and stuff because everybody else was. So it was kind of like one of those things. I date the guys with like Bieber haircuts, you know, the ones who already looked kind of gay. But yeah, so after that, like other than that, I've never, I tried to go through that situation where my family wasn't super approving of it. So I tried to think like, oh, well, maybe I'm bi, and then like tried to do that for like a year. And that didn't really work out for me either. So no, I would say I've always been a lesbian. I've never really seriously dated or like been with a dude.
Yeah. You mentioned your family. How was that kind of that struggle?
Well, it was a weird timing because like I kind of like fell out of the closet. Like my dad had overheard a conversation I was having on the phone, and so it was one of those things.
Gotcha.
And like I could have denied it and just been like, "Oh no, I was actually talking about this," but I was over it. So it's just like, "No, this is what's happening. I can't lie. Like it's too much pressure."
How'd your family kind of take it from there?
Not super great. They were actually in the middle of being separated, like in the middle of it. And so for the second time, it was so dumb. But anyway, so they were in the middle of that. And then they kind of like turned around and did the whole like, you're going to hell. Like, we don't support you. And just this whole thing. And they were never like super religious growing up at all. But suddenly they were.
At that moment?
Yeah, in that moment, it was suddenly very important to them. So I kind of just kept my head down and, like, kept a lot of secrets and kind of kept who I was, like, to me. And then I didn't really share a lot of that with my family for a really long time. Until my sophomore year, I was like, man, like, this is it. Like, I'm gay. This is how it's going to be. I'm not going to stop being who I am. And I think eventually they got to a point where they realized they wanted me in their lives more than they were worried about the gay thing. And they took a long time to get to the point where like, you know, they love my girlfriend and like, you know, things like that.
So you, even once they kind of found out, like you still kind of kept to yourself with everything? Yeah.
I would never like tell them when I was dating somebody or anything like that. I was always very secretive about like where I was going and who I was hanging out with. And I think that it made me a really good liar, which is terrible, but it did. And I think that happens to a lot of kids. Like they end up feeling like, okay, this was really bad reaction. So now I'm going to have this person who I am with my family and then this person who I actually am, but this person around people who might know my family. And then you end up with all these little fractions. Yeah.
So just your intermediate family know, or for the most part, does everybody that you associate with in your family know?
Yeah, everybody knows now. I was never big on keeping it a secret. My parents were. So like one time I remember the first time I added a girl on Facebook as like in a relationship with. My mom had a meltdown and she was like, everyone can see that and blah, 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 and just had a conniption about it. And it was so silly. Looking back on it now, because all of those people actually didn't really have an issue with it. The people she was worried about having an issue with it. And if they did, they were never outwardly, you know, like upset with me. Nobody ever messaged me like, how dare you? You're shaming this family, kind of a thing.
I know like my sister is actually married to a woman. And when she first came out, I guess, she told me, of course, and I was like, okay. And she was like, who am I? I don't care. Like, so, because even like at that point, I've already had like a lot of, not really a lot, but I've already had gay friends. So I'm like, so, like, I don't care. So, like, you know, from her telling me, then like, I know she felt like super comfortable. And then I think she told my dad next, only because he and I knew like some other like some gay ladies and stuff, so it's like, you know, that we're like cool and friends with. So then like I think she felt more comfortable telling us since we already knew some other people, but then she was more hesitant to tell my mom. But the crazy thing is, when she told my mom was more like, if she would have told her first, like she cared the least out of everybody. So like it was like so like everybody was accepting. We did have like other family members who made their little comments, and I'm like, I still protect my sister. Like, so I'm like, okay, like, well, why are you so concerned? I'm just saying it ain't right. I'm like, I thought you drink beer all day. That's not right either, but you still do that. Like, well, you drink too. Yeah, I like drinking. And like, I don't have a problem with drinking beer.
Right.
You have a problem with gays and lesbians. So like, you have the issue, but I'm like, I don't understand people sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things where I think too, like, people never think about like gay people as being people until they know somebody in their immediate family who's gay.
Right.
And like they'll always say like side comments like, oh, I don't care, I just don't want it in my face, or oh, like it's terrible, but whatever, you know. And so people will seem like kind of like about it, you know, like they don't really care, but then like somebody they know, or like somebody in their church, or somebody in their neighborhood, or whoever like is gay, like suddenly they have all these opinions, and it just gets super weird. Yep.
Outside of your family, did you have any other like cases where you felt like isolated or discriminated?
Yeah, I think less isolated and discriminated and more harassed. Like, I think that was, I know a lot of people who have, I never had a big community that I was part of. Like, if I did, it was like drama in school, or like my immediate friends, and none of them cared. So I never really had like a church that I was worried about shunning me, or I didn't hang out enough with my immediate family to really care about that either. So it was kind of one of those things where I was already, the way I grew up, was already ready to detach from that, and I knew that I was going to find another family another way. It worked out that I didn't have to do that, and I got to keep both. But I forgot the question.
I was just saying that have you felt like pretty much discrimination or isolation from people outside of your family?
No, it was mainly like the two things I've received are harassment and like aggression. I have had people get like angry at me. Like this one dude, I dated his girlfriend in high school, and he like body checked me in the hallway and like called me a dyke. That was like the first time anybody had ever called me a dyke. I was really like taken aback about it.
Wow.
But
so he was upset that you were dating his girlfriends?
Yeah.
But why are you mad at me?
I know. I was like, she's bi, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
wow, that's crazy. You said, so that pretty much like the most harassment and like, I guess, aggression that you usually got was stuff kind of like that?
Yeah, kind of stuff like that. And a lot of it was kind of like sexual aggression too from like men. That's usually what it is like my girlfriend and I were walking down the street that one time, and this guy was just harassing us, like saying like we just needed some dick in our lives, and you know, he had some for us and all that, and I ended up like breaking my hand on his face. And so but you know, they're just like, it was weird because in that moment, I also realized that there's always going to be another guy to punch. And I realized it's just never going to stop. Like, there's always going to be dudes harassing us, or like harassing me, or whatever. And so I think that's the biggest thing I've had to overcome is I don't really care if other people hate me, because I just don't. But I definitely feel that fear of aggression from that hatred.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. The way I look at it, like, if you wake up, and this is to like people who are like ridiculously homophobic, if you wake up thinking about how much you hate gay people, don't you think like you're the issue because you're thinking about gay people all the time?
Yeah.
Well, maybe you are. I don't know. Like, that's not like, I don't think about anything I hate. Like, if I hate something, like I try to keep it out of my mind. So if, like, if you really have a hatred, like, why do you even try to be in the same vicinity as it? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. I don't know anything.
Yeah, it's definitely weird because like there's the internal homophobia like part of it too, where people will really like go that opposite direction where they're just super mad at gay people and they hate gay people, and you look at them and you're like, all right, but like you're kind of obsessed, like you talk about us a lot. Right, exactly. Somebody didn't invite you to the party, but
are you mad, bro?
You mad, bro?
But it's funny you say that because like party at least. So like I said, we have a lot of gay friends. Like I went to Pride out here. I was like, I don't know, let me just see.
Yeah.
Because like people like, well, no, you know, you're not gonna be harassed and stuff. And then like I had gay friends. Then like I said the music and like knowing like some DJs and stuff. I was like, let me go check out what's going on. And I was like, it wasn't really bad. Granted, like there's one place we went to. It was like too much for my eyes, but like. That was like the only time that was like something like hella extreme for me. But like I'm like, other than that, like people like, well, if you go to gay clubs, they're gonna try to hit on you. I was like, do you get hit on at straight clubs all the time? Or no? Well, why would it be any different? Like, why do you think you are so attractive that like everybody wants to come to you like all the time?
Exactly.
So it's like, But you mentioned the word dyke.
Yes.
So I like to give this story to everyone. When I grew up, like the word faggot and dyke were like in my vocabulary because for one, like I didn't even know, I don't think I even knew the word gay as a kid. Like faggot was the word,
right?
Like, and I didn't even like say it as like an offensive way because it was like that was the word that was associated with the group of people. Then like as I got older, I was like, wow, like I've been saying this for a long time and like this is horrible. And then that's when I started to learn the word gay and like lesbian and homosexual. Like I don't think I even knew the word homosexual, which is sad. Like why is the derogatory term taught to me first, or why did I learn that first? But like then like as I like got, you know, like more gay friends, started learning different terminology, and I was like, oh, okay. And then you said the word dyke, then I was like, okay. Again, not being educated, I was like, okay, well this is the more masculine woman. And then, you know, other way it was like, no. I was like, oh. Now I'm saying this word for a long time. Like, God. But it's like now, like I got like all my terminology good, and like I have an understanding, and like, because I like to learn, so like I don't want to walk around ignorant all the time, and because like things like that is offensive to people, like the N word. You know, people like, well, you know, some people say it, some people don't. I was like, well, you know, I don't think anybody should say it. Like real talk, but granted, I might tell y'all no. But like if I use the word, like if you ever hear me, because I write music and stuff, so if you ever hear me say the word, I'm not saying it as a term of endearment. Right. I actually mean it like in a negative, hateful word. That's how I use it. But I'm also describing. Anyways, I'm going on a tangent. So I was asking you prior, how do you feel about the acronym LGBTQ?
I think, well, I don't know, because it keeps growing, and so part of it is really weird because I respect everybody for whatever they want to do. You know, as long as you're not hurting people or you're not like a pedophile or like something super like any morals off bounds. You know what I mean? I really don't care what you are. I think though, like we're seeing kind of like fractions of bisexuality that are coming off and they're turning into their own labels. By this younger generation, and it's muddling a lot of it. Because then you have like all these arguments with like, well, are asexuals technically like gay, you know, and then are like all of these other little fractions, and they're starting to include colors, and like nobody can keep up. I don't know what any of these words mean, and I'm a lesbian, so it's like, am I out of touch with like the youth, or are we getting out of hand? But I'm on Tumblr like all the time, which is, you know, the blogging website where a lot of gay people flock to scream into the abyss. And yeah, it's just crazy because we have like this younger generation who's about no labels, and then we have this new younger generation who's like label everything. And it's crazy because you start to have a weird imbalance in the community of people who feel like other people are jumping on board to something that we took a really, really long time to build, and we've really committed ourselves to in like a culture, and it's getting kind of like imbalance. Basically, it's the best word I have for it. Is there's a lot of people who are like, I'm also being discriminated against, and then all the rest of us who, you know, get like punched and like kicked around are like, do you like, are you getting oppressed? Like really? Who's oppressing you for the one time you made out with a girl in the club? Like, please tell me.
Exactly. I asked because like I always hear stuff like politically correct and like different classifications and groups and different things like that, but I'm like, who all agreed to that? Because like I know at one point it was just LGBT, or one point it was just you just heard lesbian, gay, then now LGBT and then Q, and like I said, and then people are adding A's and all this other stuff. So I always want to ask. I had a friend who she took like I can't remember what the name of the course was, but it was like
human sexuality,
something like that kind of course. And in there, that's when she actually learned about Q. She was like, have you heard about Q? I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, LGBTQ. I was like, oh yeah, queer. She's like, what is queer? I was like, I don't know. She was like, she's like, I don't consider myself a queer. So I was like, I don't know. I didn't make the label. But she was like, basically she kind of disagreed with it because like, I know like once upon a time queer just meant weird. So like, and she's like, I don't consider myself weird.
Yeah.
But it's like now that's being grouped with everyone. So I was like wondering like, how does everyone feel about that?
Well, it's definitely like different between everybody because nobody can really decide like how we feel about it, you know. I think the Q is more widely accepted than the plus sign at the end of the acronym. That one I know. No, there is a plus sign for all of those gray areas that I've told you about. Yeah, we've got polysexuals and grayscale, like different. It's so crazy. I just don't understand. So the plus bothers me for sure. The Q I'm cool with. I would never call myself queer. Like that's just not the label I would choose. Like homosexual, gay, or lesbian. But I think the Q is really helpful for people who are non-binary and don't necessarily get into like the labels because you know, lesbians obviously very feminine and like gays like more of the like male side, and so for people who are neither of those categories but they obviously, you know, have sexual attraction to either people of their gender or people of their biological sex, you know, however it goes. I'm trying to be so politically correct, but you know what I'm saying, right? Either way, I think those people definitely go underneath the Q, and I'm cool with that. You know, like they're on board. They've fought the good fight too. You know, they're in it to win it. Because
then I wonder, like, would bisexual and Q kind of be the same based off that definition?
I want to say no because I feel like the bisexuals get erased a lot, and I feel really bad about it.
Gotcha.
You know, we should give them a letter. They do. They face like a whole different section of things that I don't have to face because I'm very one way and I can be like, I'm this way and that's it. And then, you know, guys can be like, well, you've never tried or like something. But then, you know, bisexual people get the whole runaround of, oh, you have to choose and, oh, you can't actually like both. And if you're with somebody of the opposite sex, you're no longer in the community. And so they get their beef. They've earned it.
I had a friend, she basically said that she's just really in love with people's like personality. So whether it's a guy or girl, like if it's the personality that draws her to it and whatever it happens to be, that's just what it is. But like I was like, I can appreciate that. Like, I mean, like, again, I don't care either way, but like, I can appreciate that because when it comes down to it, again, I have a lot of conversations with random people all the time. But I was telling somebody, I was like, who am I to, or just people, but like, who are they to try to judge and tell you how to be happy and who you should love and fall in love with? So it's like what kind of person does that make you? It's like, well, you're hating these people for who they love and you want to shit on their like life and happiness
while
like,
you're on your like 15th marriage, you
so
have 4
like,
bastard children.
But it's like, who are you to? But it's like, what kind of person are you if you wake up every day not wanting someone else to be happy? Like, so it's like you need to reflect upon yourself if like, if that's what you wake up doing like every day. And it's funny you say that about marriage. I remember this comedian, he was like around when they were like still up in the air about like gay marriage and stuff. He was like, who am I to care? He's like, I want them to be unhappy just like me. I was like, wow. But like, I mean, I'm happy in my marriage, but like I get what he was saying too. Like, but yeah, why are people so like in uproar on gay marriage? Because my whole take with it is it's no different from if you're already living with a person or dating them. Like, what difference does it make if now they're married? Like, how is that going to affect society now? Yeah,
it doesn't. And I think it's crazy because we're always in society in this battle of people thinking that rights for somebody else means less rights for them.
Right.
Like it's a pie and we're all gonna like cut out pieces, and if we let the gays have this one, like what's next? HOV lane, it's gone.
Right. You didn't let those gays have marriage, you know. The taxes are going up now.
Thanks, Obama.
Right.
I just want to be clear. I love that man and I miss him so much.
Do you miss him so much because of who's there now?
I wanted him to stay no matter what. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. I love him like old white women loved Kennedy. That's the best way I can describe my love for Obama.
That is like a very creative way of saying that. But hearing you say it like that, I was like, I get it.
You get it.
I get it. Yeah, you're president now. He's everybody else's president except mine. I just keep putting him on everyone else. Wherever I talk to him, I'm like, oh yeah, you're a president. You live in this country too? Yeah. He's still yours.
I don't claim that.
But that was like one of my biggest things. I was like, how does everyone perceive the Q?
Yeah. If anything, I would say the Q is a fraction of the B. So, you know, B is a staple. B can't go anywhere. Q, I think, reasonably could be adapted into B. But I do appreciate its uniqueness for, like I said, that non-binary purpose. And it really is just a more comfortable label, I think, for people who want something a little more ambiguous and vague.
So how do you feel about the T?
The T is interesting because I want to be like super clear about how I feel about the situation. I think that the trans community is a beautiful community, and they are incredibly strong people, incredibly loving people. They've been fighting the fight with us from like Stonewall. So like the T's are all super legit. And I think they have every right to be in the acronym if we're all taking slots. Right. I think it is weird because we have some people who, and it's a work in progress, I think, because we have all of these people on these online communities trying to communicate, and they don't do it very well. So you have a bunch of people who are trans who sometimes get really mad at, like, if we have like a male to female come into the group, and like sometimes they'll get super offended if a lesbian doesn't want to date them. Because, you know, a lesbian could and they might want to, and that's totally cool. Like, it doesn't matter. But I think for some people, there's like a clash where some like lesbians are getting way up in arms about nothing, and then some like trans people are also getting way up in arms about the same thing, about whether or not it's acceptable for lesbians to say that they won't date a trans female. And so I think that's the only issue I have with it, is that they're coming out with these new terms and everything called turf lesbians, which I'm trying to figure out what it means. Yeah. But from what I understand is it's just like just lesbians against trans people, and those people definitely do exist, and I don't agree with them. It's totally not cool.
So they're trying to create conflict between the two? Yeah,
and I just feel like there's like some weird party thing going on. I try and stay super far out of it. Right. But it's a weird thing because I've never heard of it outside of the internet of like trans people and lesbians or other gay people not getting along.
You think it's maybe possibly something someone's trying to start that doesn't actually exist?
No, I think it exists. I think it's definitely bred from the internet, though. I think it's definitely a social thing, and this whole calling out culture is doing a lot of it too. And you know, just because you're gay doesn't mean you're not a shitty person. Right. So I think that there are just, you know, some people who are kind of assholes, and like I can see it, like, and lesbians can be super man-hating too, where they're like, oh, well, it's because you know, used to be a man or whatever, which is also a ridiculous comment. But, you know, it's kind of stuff like that. So I think that these people are just going back and forth, and nobody's actually listening to each other, and everybody's having these different experiences. They're so dumb. And I think that that's that's where I'm trying to figure out what's next, because it's evolving, you know, everything's evolving. And the only thing I can think to do is just to be like super open and nice to everybody, which is what I would have done anyway. But now I feel like we need to do it more and just like take a step back a little bit instead of going after each other and like calling each other TERFs and like coming up with new derogatory names. So, because now it's not just like, you know, the world versus the gays. It's like the gays versus like the other gays. Yeah. And that's just distracting us from our actual life goals.
Right. Yeah, it's like you have to keep the whole community strong in order to stop other people.
Exactly, yeah. They're trying to fraction us out so we don't riot.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard about that. Oh, bless you, puppy. It's not a puppy, it's a dog.
Always a puppy.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, so it's interesting to me to have that kind of internal conflict like you saying, and like I don't see the point in it. But you mentioned like how, you know, gay and lesbian people could be assholes and jerks and stuff too. And that's why I feel like people are people everywhere you go. I think sometimes even like hetero people forget that, you know, people are just people. So it's like there's like a lot more hetero people probably know more gay people than they think they know. It's just that you just don't know that this person's gay because they don't necessarily do stereotypical gay things. And that's like stereotypical with quotes, like, you know, everything you see in a movie that, you know, if this is a gay person, they do these things or whatever.
Oh, we joke all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend, she had no idea we were even on a first date. She thought I was straight, even though we had met on Tinder. I bought her a drink. She did not realize we were on a date until some dude tried to hit on us, asked both of us for our numbers, and then finally we all said no, and he walked away. And I was like, wow, can you believe he did that while we're on a date? And she was like, oh my gosh, it's a date. And I was like, are you serious? Like, what the fuck? I bought you a drink. We joke about it all the time. She's like, yeah, if I ever met you in person, like, I would have never known you were gay. I would have never approached you. And I get that all the time.
Because the question is, like, what does a gay person look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can tell sometimes. Like, sometimes, well, actually, in Austin, you can't always tell.
In Austin, you cannot.
You cannot. I actually just went to this convention in Vegas called Klexicon, and it is a lesbian convention. Based on...
When was that?
It was in April.
I want to say we had a friend that went to that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it was in the middle of Vegas at the Flamingo Hotel, and I've never seen more lesbians in one place. I didn't see one dude there at all. It was insane. But, like, looking at a group of lesbians like that, like, to me, I could spot all the lesbians, like, as we were walking to the hotel, like, whatever. But if you really look at it, like, we all look super different in terms of, like, some of us dress more masculine, some of us dress more androgynous, some of us dress, like, super feminine, and you just really don't know anymore. And I think we all kind of rely on, like, this weird, like, gay energy that we emit. It's like prolonged eye contact or like just little things. So now we're all hyper aware. We're trying to throw pheromones out there like wild animals, trying to get somebody to notice us. But lesbians don't talk to each other. It takes them years to figure that out. That's a true stereotype.
That's funny. Because I asked because I actually was losing my train of thought. I don't remember what I even asked you from the start. Oh, yeah.
Oh, how you can tell somebody's gay?
Oh, yeah. Especially in Austin.
I had to remember, too.
They got smoked. Anyways, like, especially in Austin, because I've met, like, a couple guys, and you're like, oh, this person isn't gay? Like, I just knew that they were. And then, like, especially because sometimes they'll hang around, like, actual other gay guys, but it's like this particular person isn't. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well. But then, like, in Austin... Like in Dallas, because you're from Dallas, too.
Yeah, I'm from Dallas, too.
So...
You can tell in Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell every time. Yeah. Super easy.
Yeah. Out here, it's like people are a lot more eclectic. I say Austin is a hippie city, which I like it. But it's like, yeah, it's different because people dress more eclectic here. And then in Dallas, like, it's like you have to make it known. Yeah. Especially, I remember, like... Did you ever go to like Oakland area?
Oh yeah, I went there for my 18th birthday actually,
Yeah,
and it was a good time. They only had one lesbian bar.
I think they still only
it's Sue Ellen's.
Yeah, that's pretty much it's still the only one. I know like there's other places. Like I have a friend who's a part of this committee that does lesbian happy hour out there in Dallas.
That's cool.
I don't know where it's at. I think it's either at different locations or it's at one location. I was like, okay, like Dallas is doing stuff outside of like Sue Ellen's, which is cool, or like uptown. But no, Sue Ellen's is uptown.
Yeah, it's all uptown, right off Lemon Street.
Yeah,
that's another gay joke.
Is your girlfriend from Dallas too?
No, she's from Houston and Colorado.
Houston and Colorado.
Yeah, so she grew up in Houston until she was like 12 and then moved to Colorado, and then she didn't move back here until she was 26.
I like Houston sometimes. I've never been to Colorado yet.
Oh, you'd like it. It's fun.
Oh,
the weather is amazing. It's just pretty and the weather's so nice. And
is it cold all the time?
No, not in the summer. No.
I'm from the South, like Louisiana. Like I don't do cold at all. But we went to Kentucky once, Louisville, Kentucky, and it was like snowed. And I was like, it was cold, but like you said, just the atmosphere. I was like, okay, I think I can deal with it a little bit.
You can accept it. You're like, I'll bundle up, I guess.
Like if it looks nice, if it looks nice, it's cool. It's cool. You ever say something is too gay for you?
Jokingly. Like I'll be like, I'm not that gay. Like, relax. Yeah, that's totally a joke, but I love to say it all the time, actually.
I asked because we have a friend. It's like he won't go to certain places. He's like, man, it's just too gay. Like, I was like, what? Like, I was always confused, but he was like, no, like, it's too many. He's like, it's too many gays in there. I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
sometimes gays can be a lot, even as a gay. Like, you can feel like very overwhelmed. I know going to gay clubs for me is just I don't really like clubs that much anyway. But like gay clubs are like hot and sweaty and everyone is doing drugs. Like everyone is doing drugs. And you can never go to the bathroom. There's like 1,000 gays in the bathroom at all time. Like they all came to the club to hang out there.
And do drugs.
Which, whatever. Not a bad way to spend your weekend, I guess.
As long as you're having fun in the process.
No, that's super funny. I'll say it all the time actually. Like I'll have my cousin one time was like, you'd look really cute if you shaved the side of your head. And I was like, I'm not that gay, Kat. Thanks, though.
Do you make people uncomfortable when you say that?
I don't think so. Everybody laughs. I think they know I'm joking. Like, offend somebody, Layne. Jeez.
Come on. Live a little.
Get your shit together.
I remember being a kid and like, this is like, I guess when I was starting to, I don't want to say start accepting gay people, but started to understand more.
Yeah.
And but as a kid, y'all say like, "Oh, that's gay." Now you just say to everything.
Until Hillary Duff popped out of the clothing rack and was like, "That's not cool."
Right, I do remember that. I had a friend who was like, because I it was already in, my vocabulary just saying that all the time, so it's like hard to break that.
I mean, me too.
Right. See. So it's okay now since you. No, it's good.
It's fine. Layne approved it. We could all say gay again. No, it's crazy that you say that about like kids, because the first time I never really thought about it, but when I was in 5th grade, this girl, like, I don't know what her deal was. Like, nobody liked me when I was in like elementary school. I was that weird little kid, like with the glasses, I didn't get like friends until I was in high school. But I was hanging out doing something and she was like, what are you, a lesbian? And I was like, I didn't even know what a fucking lesbian was. I was like, but then like now looking back at it, I'm pissed because not that she called me a lesbian, but because she knew before I did. I don't like that she has that satisfaction of knowing that she was right.
And she's like, told you.
I know. I'm like, son of a bitch.
I remember hearing that word as a kid, but like still didn't again know what it was, because again I had the other derogatory term that this is what everybody was identified as. But then it was like, oh, like even with my friend, like I was saying, I was like, oh, that's gay. So I would try to like, since I had like more gay friends at that point, I kept trying to take it like out of my like way of talking. And I think I slipped up his head, and then she was like, "What's gay about it? What's gay about it?" I was just standing there like, "Shit!" Like
she got you.
Right? I was like,
she was waiting,
and she was smiling because she knew like I didn't mean it in a like negative way. But I was just like, I don't know. It's not gay.
I didn't see it.
I was like, touche. And I think at that point, then I was able to just to stop because I was like, well,
I've been publicly shamed now.
Right. And she was looking at me. I kept trying to look straight, like, oh, maybe if I just don't look at her, she won't even know that I said anything.
If I pretend it didn't happen, maybe it didn't.
And she was looking like right here at the side of my face, like, what's gay about it? I was like, what? You said that? I was like, oh gosh, thanks. I can't come back from that. You mentioned being like in the 5th grade. What do you think about people saying people are born gay?
I think that's absolutely true. I do think that it's I don't want to say predisposition, but it is.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I think it is because I never actively was like, you know what I want to do? Make my life really fucking hard. Potentially lose my entire family and be broke on somebody's couch as soon as I graduate high school. Nobody wants that. Nobody, and just the fact that it takes some people years to figure it out or like come to terms with it or anything. Some of us try to like pray away the gay, like you just, you try like not to so hard. How could anybody sit there and be like, oh, you chose to do this?
Right.
Like,
I had a friend which is like horrible. Like she said how like I think they grew up Catholic, how, they try to beat the gay out of them and all this kind of stuff. And it was like, wow, it's crazy. Like how people could just be that hateful.
Oh yeah,
like that.
Conversion camps are a thing.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Like recently, like how I was like, wow, that's.
Yeah, it's crazy because like people will talk about how a big thing is like gay people can't travel. Like I can't go to certain countries, or I wouldn't even want to because I might die.
You're right. Like, why would I want to go
if
there?
I went with my girlfriend, I could be murdered. But then you have, people won't realize in the States, they think that because we got gay marriage that we're all in it to win it. There's no more homophobes in the United States. Everybody's cool. But like Indiana and like all of these other states still do conversion therapy and it's still totally legal. And then those lesbians that got arrested in Hawaii for just being gay in the grocery store on like their honeymoon or vacation or something like that. So it's pretty crazy. That people just think, like I had a conversation with my mom recently about that, is she was like, oh, it's not a big problem anymore. Like it's not as bad as it was. And that's what everybody says. It's not as bad as it was. So you should feel honored that it's no longer as bad as it was. Like it's fine. Like, yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah. I can't wait to go get harassed on the street and break my hand on a guy's face or, potentially get like raped or like anything, because like you don't know, like people are crazy, and because of the orange monster that's now ruling over our lives, it just becomes that much more acceptable, because we were talking about earlier, like, usually people wouldn't say like mean things about gay people or coincidentally super Republican things in public, because they would expect backlash from people, or they didn't think people thought like them. But now it's flipped, because people are like, oh, everybody thinks this, but also there's no more homophobia in the United States, so what are you gonna do?
And then what happens with stuff like that, then they just, well, it's not homophobia, then they try to add a different label to it. You just add a different label.
They're like, I'm not homophobic, I just think, or they feel like it's like impeding on their religious freedom, and it's like, like nobody's taking anything away from you, you're impeding on people's rights is what's happening here.
I had like a few episodes ago, we had a whole like discussion about religion, and like that was one of those things which is like, which I'm not going to try to go on the tangent in this one, but yeah, like it's funny like how some religious people will say like gay people are going to hell. Okay, for one, it's not your job to condemn people, and in any religion, like if you're not the god or like the higher deity or whatever,
not your job.
It's not your job, so like don't.
Not your job, not your problem.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. Keep doing what you're doing. And two, like while you're sitting here condemning somebody, when you're not supposed to, it's like, what are you doing in your life? Because a lot of those same people are getting fucked up every night and drinking and doing stuff. Well, you know, I'm like, okay. Or they feel like if they repent all the time, like, so you're saying your God will forgive you for everything all the time, no matter what you do. Okay, so what makes you think that your same God won't forgive the lesbian or the gay guy?
Yeah, like, what is that about?
Right. But they can't answer, well, because the Bible says. The Bible actually doesn't say that in there.
No,
it says
nowhere
nothing
in
about
there.
homophobia in there or homosexuality.
No, it doesn't. It's definitely one of those things too where, like, I think a lot of people like pick and choose what they want, like whatever's convenient for them at the time, and
try to flip it to make it sound like it.
Yeah,
they really try hard. And I might close with this one, but we'll see how this goes. So part of this discussion I told you I had with somebody recently, they kept trying to associate the LGBTQ community with pedophilia.
Ooh, yeah, super not about that.
Oh, and that, like, at the moment, because the situation that we're in when they brought it up, like, it wasn't, I knew if I was to correct the person on it, I knew how far it was going to go and how far I was going to go, and, like, it was going to be, like,
a whole thing.
So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to let them keep talking, and I'm just going to keep to myself right now. But, like, later I kind of talked to him about it, but I'm like...
What was the argument? I'm curious. What was his argument about
it? Well, basically, they're homophobic, one.
Uh-huh.
So there's already that. And then, like, they were talking about, like, you know, helping people in the community just in general. And then they were, like, saying how, because then you got these LGBTQ people out here doing all this pedophilia stuff. I was like, actually, the main people who are molesting kids and stuff like that are usually the straight family members. Yeah. It's your aunt and uncle and, like, the people that are in the community helping kids in the community. I was like, these are the people that are actually doing that. So why people are trying to ostracize gay and lesbian people, like, there might be people, they might be doing it too, because people are people. But, like, statistically, the average person that's molesting somebody isn't somebody who is a gay or a lesbian. Yeah.
And it's crazy because there's one, like, part of that where you have straight people who are like, oh yeah, pedophiles are like, all gay people are pedophiles. Like, that's a big stigma that's been on there for a while, whatever. And we fought really hard against it. And now we're coming into a weird spot where, like, you have a bunch of, like, older men dating super young girls, and you have, like, almost a... not a, like, we're numb, like, to stuff now. Like, we hear stuff and no, it doesn't faze us. We're like, oh yeah, I believe that happened. Like, Florida man ate some guy's face, sure, whatever. And so I think it's become almost normalized to, like, a weird commercial standpoint where people don't think about it, you know, if it's celebrities or something like that. But it's making people who are pedophiles think that they can be a part of the LGBT community. So I've seen a lot of online, like, LGBT people, like, speaking out against it, and they're like, no, like, we're not about pedophiles. Absolutely not. But then there's a whole argument of people who are like, oh, I'm a pedophile, but I don't practice it, or, like, whatever, I'm in the LGBT community because I have a weird sexuality. And it's like, no, you're fucking gross.
Like, it doesn't work like that.
You are not allowed to hang out here. Like, you're not in the slots.
Because someone was like, yeah, you know, they're adding the P in there. I was like, what is P? It was like pedophiles. Like, no, they're not.
No.
I was like, I'm not even in that community like that, but I know no one's adding that. The pedophile is trying to get into that community, but no, like, no one's adding that. No one likes pedophiles.
They're trying to normalize it. Yeah, nobody likes pedophiles. Not even prisoners like pedophiles.
Right, like, they're the lowest class. You can kill, like, a whole family, but, oh, you raped a kid too.
Ew,
you're like
out.
At the bottom. Yeah. Like, in the...
Yeah, it's crazy, but they're trying to normalize it because they're thinking it's the same thing. It's like, we get an inch and everybody is like, oh, you should be grateful for your inch, and then everybody else is like, you see that inch? We have space there. Let's jump on it. And so we're always trying to fight, like, what we are and, like, not letting our identities dissolve, but also, like, allowing for a lot of creativity and things and fluidity, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. We're all about, like, love who you love, be who you want to be, don't hurt other people. Pedophiles hurt lots of people, and they are not included in the fun rainbow time.
No.
So yeah, no, I think it's something I would love to see go away, but I feel like we haven't seen the worst of it, unfortunately.
Right. Because it's also, I feel like, because like I said, the big orange monster, I feel like a lot of stuff starts to like rise as, you know, the more he opens his mouth, like just more craziness. It's just
we got Nazis running around, like,
oh my gosh.
Like everybody's like, Nazis are people too. Like, no, like fuck the Nazis, fuck the pedophiles.
Right.
Like, we're not playing that game. Like,
right.
Oh yeah, the gays are bad, but the Nazis are misunderstood.
Right, exactly. Like, I wonder. Like, no, but no. It's funny even about that. I've seen, like, it's like sporadic, but I've seen like where there's like trying to be like a lesbian Nazi group. It's like, so now you're trying, like, you can't. Now you're starting to try to blend lines, but it's like, but your whole other group of people aren't going to accept you.
Yeah.
So it's like,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of those like outliers get big voices because it's so like, ooh, like if they can find one bad gay person,
right.
they will blow that
right.
shit up all day because everybody loves gays. Gays are nice, mostly. You know, we can be assholes, sassy, like dicks, you know, might rob you, somebody. Who knows? Like, you know, I read this
article.
Yeah, there's still people. I read this article about these two guys that ended up getting together because one guy tried to rob the other guy. And it was actually a very cute story.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
do you remember
anyway.
the whole story?
That was pretty much it. He like tried to rob him, and then I guess he felt bad about it later and came over and like to give him his stuff back, and now they're in a happy relationship. As in the UK.
I hope they like get married if they're not already, and like be married for like 100 years.
Okay, and I shit you not, one of them was like tatted up like to the nines, like looked like your classic robber, right? The other guy looks like that guy from State Farm and all the commercials. And it's just like, okay, but like, you know, I don't know. I think we have a lot of diversity and a lot of things that people want to jump on because we are making headway and we're pushing through, and people want to get on that so they don't have to do the hard work themselves.
That makes sense.
And so we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to get better after we do a little bit of a generation turnover, and we also get some new influence into government, and there's a lot because we took a lot of step forward in the last like 8 years before the apocalypse happened,
right? And
then we've just been falling drastically down the ladder as it's gone on. But you know, we're still on it, so we'll keep trudging upward. Just gonna keep, you know, wiping off the pedophiles and the Nazis, and you know, we'll just start throwing bricks again, and everything will be fine.
Right. And then now you'll be labeled as violent and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And,
you can't win.
No, can't win for losing, as they say. Well, cool. Would you have any advice for maybe those who are afraid to come out?
Yeah, if you're in a position where you could potentially become homeless or become injured or anything like that, or you're just not plain not ready to come out, don't do it. Like, it's fine. You can wait, you know, until you can be whoever you need to be, or you're like on your own and you're stable. But if you want it, you'll know. And when you're done hiding, it'll happen for you. And I think there's a lot of pressure on people to come out because like it's quote unquote safe now for everybody, but it's not. And there's a lot of pressure on those people, and sometimes like people make them feel bad for not coming out. So if you're scared for like super legit reasons, or you're just really not comfortable with it, that's fine. Like, the worst thing you can do is come out when you're not ready and have to like navigate it on your own.
Right, exactly.
You know, like I fell right out of there, and I totally wish I could have had a little bit more time to figure it out, because you have people shouting at you like back and forth, like you need to be gayer, or you need to like you need to be not gay, and it's just, you know, it's hard. So I think if anything I could say is you'll know when you're ready, and you will embrace the opportunity when it comes.
Right. Funny story. I was about to end it right there, but then you just reminded me of that when you say falling out the closet again. I remember being in high school, and there was this guy. He was a cheerleader, which doesn't mean you're gay, because I was on the gymnastics team, and it's kind of almost the same thing. And but like he's really feminine, and he's a cheerleader, and like talking to him or hearing him talk with other people, like I'm like, oh yeah, he's gay. Like, and I heard him tell, there's ladies that he's talking to, like, that he's gay. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So then, like, a couple days later, I mean, like, throughout the school year, but there was, like, one day he came, and he was, like, real upset. And he was, like, his parents just found out that he was gay. And, like, I was like, did your parents not, like, suspect at all? Like, why were they so, like, upset?
Denial is so powerful, man.
I was like, And then, like, one of my friends, she was like, when she told her parents, they were like, oh, yeah, we knew that. Like, she's like, really? We're like, yeah. Like, we pretty much already assumed that. She was like, oh, okay, well.
Made it easy.
Yeah, like, cool. I always like to hear those kind of stories, like, where the parents, just love their child for who they are. It doesn't really matter in the end. Granted, you might, want a different path for your child, but that's not the path they're going. So it's like,
yeah.
Because me and my wife, we always talk about if we had kids, like, they became gay, it's just what it is. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Like, so, are you selling drugs? No, okay.
If anything, you have less things to worry about.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to accidentally get pregnant.
Right.
Like,
I don't know.
It's true. You don't know anymore. Could happen.
Right. We're in Austin. Anything could happen. No, just kidding. I like Austin. How long have y'all been living out here?
I've been here since 2013.
Oh.
Yeah. So however math that is.
Because I was like
6 years? I want to say it's 6, yeah.
That's
6
cool.
years.
I've been out here 3, so I'm still, I think I finally figured everything out in Austin.
That's what you think.
Yeah.
Just wait. You're going to turn one corner the wrong way. You're going to learn a whole new thing about Austin.
Well, I travel around a lot and I always talk to different people, so I've learned and been in like different circles. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm stuck here. It's real weird in here, but I gotta wait till we leave.
Don't know if I'll come back, but definitely came.
Yeah. Another relevant story I just want to throw in there because going back, and I like to be out there. You talking about Nazis earlier. I remember, so like my parents live in this town called Wiley, Texas. Mm-hmm. You familiar with that?
Yeah, I know where it is.
Yeah, it's way out there. So like when they first moved there, they were like getting their carpet cleaned by some company. And like I was living there and I had like my music equipment set up in there. So the guy who was like cleaning the carpet was like a young guy. He said, oh man, like you do music, this white dude. And I was like, yeah. He's like, man, I'm about to buy some stuff. I need some help setting it up. I'm like, cool. So like I gave him like my number or card or something. I don't know. I don't think I had business cards. But I gave him like my number. So like whenever he got his stuff, he hit me up. I was like, yeah, where do you live? So like it wasn't too far. I was like, cool. So like as I'm like pulling up to the house, he's like, yeah, man, I hope you don't mind my uncle's here. I'm like, I don't care. It's like your house. Do what you want. So when I go in there, his uncle is clearly like a reformed skinhead.
Oh no.
I was like, oh my gosh, I just got set up. I don't know what's happening.
I just got set up.
And I always carry like a pocket knife on me, so I was just like sitting there like nervous. But his uncle's like cool as fuck. Like he's like, yeah, man. He had this like raspy voice. He's like, yeah, man, I used to play the bass, and it was like, blah blah, and this, and it was cool, man. Thanks for helping my nephew set up this stuff, man. Yeah, I was gonna try to help him set it up, but like, I just didn't feel like that. I was like, oh, this dude's cool. Like, but like I could tell like he had like SS tattoos and like swastikas some places, and like, but you can tell like he's not about that life anymore. So it's like you can't judge people based off of like what they look like and their tattoos and stuff like that. It's really
peer pressure comes up in many different forms.
yeah, and that's true. But cool, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I don't know why I was so nervous. I had a lot of fun.
I don't know either. It's microphobia. It's a term about
microphobia.
Yeah. I invented that word. Don't steal it.
I like it.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.